Every time a piece of media announces a live-action adaptation, be it a book, video game or comic, the first thing we do is wonder who will play its most iconic characters. It doesn't matter how unanimously agreed upon the idea is across the web, sometimes it just doesn't match up due to schedules or simply interest. However, this list highlights the most exciting and exhilarating fan castings that eventually became a reality. I'm Cy for WhatCulture.com and these are 8 dream TV castings that came true. Number 8. Peter Dinklage as Tyrion Lannister, Game of Thrones. For almost a decade, Game of Thrones was the biggest show on television. It was spectacular dark fantasy with a host of interesting, duplicitous characters. Amongst these was the man who drank and knew things, Tyrion Lannister, an outsider from his family in part due to being born a dwarf. The books had been around for quite some time when the show was greenlit and had amassed their own cult following. Most fans were in agreement that there was no better man for Tyrion than Peter Dinklage, an assessment that the showrunners also held. However, they were hesitant to approach him. Dinklage had just finished work on the fantasy film Prince Caspian, and the actor had a distaste for the genre's tropes. As he put it, in fantasy everybody speaks in broad strokes, there's no intimacy, there's dragons and big speeches, and there's nothing to hold on to, and for somebody my size, it's death, the opposite of the activism I was involved with. However, Dinklage was friends with the wife of co-writer David Benioff and decided to read the script for the pilot despite his initial negative reaction, and the rest, as they say, is history. Number 7. Rosario Dawson as Ahsoka Tano, The Mandalorian. With a universe worth of lore, Star Wars has a long line of interesting characters outside of the main players in the live-action films. Ahsoka Tano is a Jedi warrior who first appeared in the animated Clone Wars movie and immediately connected with fans due to her awesome design and general badassery. This popularity was reflected in her repeat appearances. She was a major character in the Clone Wars TV show, and Ashley Eckstein, the character's original voice actor, even got to cameo in The Rise of Skywalker. When it came to live action, however, there was only one name that fans were interested in, and that was Rosario Dawson. Adored by consumers of nerdy media, Dawson broke out in slacker comedy Clerks 2 and has gone on to appear in Netflix's Marvel shows and graphic novel adaptation Sin City, just to name a few. Responding to a fan casting on Twitter with the hashtag #AhsokaLives caught the attention of someone at Disney's Star Wars division. Sure enough, in Chapter 13 of The Mandalorian, Dawson made her debut as the Togruta hero. This would snowball into appearing in the Book of Boba Fett 2 years later, and with the momentum totally behind her, she'll soon be starring in her very own Ahsoka show. Number 6. Henry Cavill as Geralt, The Witcher. Both a book series and now a video game franchise, it was only a matter of time before The Witcher came to live action. A medieval fantasy with a supernatural twist, the show's world was ripe for exploring in a serialized television format. But of course the big question was who would play the leading man, the monster-slaying Geralt of Rivia. No one was a bigger supporter of Henry Cavill in the role than the man himself. In many ways, as a player of The Witcher games, this was his own fan casting. Cavill has admitted that he would not relent when it came to securing the part. Not only did he constantly badger his own agent about it, he would reach out to the studio repeatedly to put himself forward. Lauren Schmidt-Hissrich, writer and producer on the show, recalled that he was really annoying. I finally said, I'll meet you, the show is not greenlit, there is nothing, thank you, now I have to go write the show. Despite apparently seeing 206 other actors for the part, it became obvious that Cavill was the man for the job. This, however, makes his 2022 announcement that he's stepping away from the role all the more heartbreaking. 2 new seasons of the show have been greenlit, with Liam Hemsworth taking up the sword in Cavill's stead. Number 5. Adina Menzel as Shelby Corcoran, Glee. From 2009 onwards, Glee took over television as one of the biggest shows around. Its school setting, bright musical numbers, and strong casting caught the eyes of many, especially around awards season. Fans immediately agreed that Lea Michele, who played hopeful Broadway star Rachel Berry, had the air of Adina Menzel about her. Menzel is appropriately regarded as the queen of Broadway. Viewers took to the internet to discuss, requesting that the showrunners take notice and do what they could to bring Menzel in. As Rachel was the daughter of 2 gay men, there was a space for Menzel to enter the show as the character's biological mother. Glee then took a mid-season break, and during this time, the creators admitted they had met with the queen of Broadway. Appearing in episode 14 of the show as Shelby Corcoran, the vocal coach of the school's rival group Adrenaline, fans were disappointed at first. However, a few weeks later, it's revealed that Corcoran was indeed Rachel's mother. The character's storylines throughout the show are often a point of contention with fans, but for the most part, long-time Gleeks will remember the excitement of seeing their idea come to life on screen. Number 4. Alexander Siddig as Ra's al Ghul, Gotham. Batman is without a doubt the comic book character with the most recognisable villains. Joker, Penguin, Poison Ivy, Mr. Freeze, the list goes on. Ra's al Ghul, despite being a cornerstone of the Batman comics, has never had too many live-action appearances. Notably, Liam Neeson portrayed him in Christopher Nolan's Batman Begins, Begins, which was fine if a little odd. The name Ra's al Ghul is Arabic in origin, literally translating to the head of the ghoul, so fans began to consider actors more appropriate for the casting. The most popular of these was Alexander Siddig, best known for his time portraying the softly spoken Dr. Bashir in Star Trek Deep Space Nine. Just after fellow DC show Arrow introduced its own interpretation, played by Matthew Nable, Siddig was announced to be coming to Fox's Gotham, a show that takes a look into the younger years of Bruce Wayne. In the show, Ra's al Ghul is an ambiguous character who is instrumental in shaping the destiny of the future Batman. Siddig's performance as the character was so good that DC fans moved from fan casting his appearance to fan casting his return, hopeful that he may cross over into the Arrowverse or even into the feature films somewhere down the line. Number 3. Nick Offerman as Bill, The Last of Us. HBO's belief in adapting video game mega hit The Last of Us for TV speaks volumes in its monumental budget spent on impressive sets and brilliant casting. Nick Offerman wasn't necessarily on everybody's lists when the show was first confirmed, but as soon as the announcement came, there was a collective rumble of excitement. Offerman became a beloved figure working on Parks and Recreation as the very gifable Ron Swanson, a gruff man with deadpan delivery, suspicions of the government, and secretly a heart of gold. He was the perfect choice to play Bill, the sardonic pessimist survivalist. What makes this such a remarkable case is that it almost didn't happen. In July 2021, HBO announced some of the supporting roles for the show, including Chernobyl's Con O'Neill as Bill. This was walked back before the end of the year due to scheduling conflicts, and Offerman stepped up. And it's fair to say he knocked it right out of the park. While some fans saw the Bill-centric episode of the show as a sudden diversion, no one can truly deny Offerman's dramatic chops. He demonstrated the character we knew from the game with way more depth, as he explored a beautiful and tragic love story in a post-apocalyptic world. Offerman trended on Twitter for days after the episode aired, with many calling for him to get his flowers once awards season rolls around. Number 2. Hayley Steinfeld as Kate Bishop, Hawkeye. The Marvel Cinematic Universe has been a game changer in many ways, but related to this topic, it has changed and revitalized careers forever. Decoupling the men and women who have played the most prominent roles in the franchise from their characters is very hard. The best of them have left a huge mark on Marvel going forward. In the comics, Kate Bishop is the apprentice of Clint Barton, aka Hawkeye. When it was announced that Barton was getting his own Disney Plus spin-off, fans immediately began to talk about who could take on the mantle of Bishop, with Hayley Steinfeld being a prominent pick. MCU fans get some interesting insights behind the scenes, with the docu-series assembled, and the Hawkeye episode highlighted Hayley's ascension to the role. Executive producer Trin Tran mentioned that they chose to meet with her for a conversation, but that it was clear she was the perfect casting, and so they offered Steinfeld the part after just one meeting. She also admitted that she figured MCU godfather Kevin Feige had always wanted Steinfeld for the role. And thankfully it paid off, as Kate Bishop's debut was a highlight of the show, which makes it not at all surprising that the star has signed on for multiple upcoming MCU productions. Number 1. Ben Barnes as the Darkling, Shadow and Bone. Shadow and Bone is a dark fantasy series that its fans had a very specific dark fantasy about, that is, the casting of Darkling. Focusing on a Russian orphan who discovers she has supernatural abilities, Alina finds herself up against the shadow summoner General Alexander Kirigan. Based on a novel of the same name and its ensuing sequels, Netflix picked up the property for streaming in 2019. When looking to cast the enigmatic Kirigan, Ben Barnes knew he was right for the role. At the end of his conversation with the casting director, he showed them a Tumblr post from literally years before the show had been picked up that showed fan edits of him as the Darkling. Barnes had shown his range with appearances in Westworld and The Punisher, but his breakout performances were on the big screen in Prince Caspian and the 2009 adaptation of Dorian Gray. He certainly caught the eye of many, and Tumblr fans of Shadow and Bone were adamant about Barnes as the Darkling should it ever get picked up for television. In fact, unknown to Barnes, the casting director had seen that same fan edit previously, and before long everything came together in a way that caused a great many Tumblr users' dreams to become a reality. And that's the list. Let us know what you thought of this video down in the comments below. Which of these dream castings made you the happiest? And of course, let us know of any other upcoming TV shows that you have casting ideas about. Make sure you like this video, share it with your friends, subscribe and hit that notification bell. Head over to whatculture.com for more content every day. I've been Cy for What Culture, and have a good week.